Good morning, everyone. And the word you'll hear me say is Habari Gani, and I'll explain it later. It's the greeting of Kwanzaa. I'm Reverend Carolyn Wilkins, and I'm delighted to be here this morning and send our greetings and love to your dear minister, Reverend Chalani. And I'm going to begin with the meditation. So it's a little bit different order of service today because we are doing a Kwanzaa service. And we always begin with a meditation. So I invite you to be still. And we will focus on the word joy. And bring that into our very breath. So as we breathe in joy, we release any sense of sadness. Let us breathe in joy. And now release any sense of pain. We breathe in joy and release any sense of separation. And then we allow ourselves to just be still. And be at one with our own body, our own presence. And in that stillness, we recognize our connection with everything. With the trees, the flowers, the plants, the mountains. We are one. And we continue to just deepen our sense of stillness. Whatever may have rushed us here is no longer required. So we release any sense of having to be or do anything. Knowing that right where you are is right where you're supposed to be. And from this place of stillness, we now can be fully receptive to the celebration of today. Welcoming new ideas, new thoughts, new words, new cultures, and relooking at meanings of our own life as we enter a celebration of Kwanzaa. So I release this word and know it is done. And so it is, Ashe.
I just love tag team worship. Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Las Cruces, members, visitors. We'll tell you a little bit about our church. We have no set creed or dogma. We find that as we come here. We're guided by spirit, whatever that might be. We welcome you on this morning in this place. This morning, Reverend Carolyn Wilkins will be our leader, and my name is Brooks Lewis, and I am the associate today. And we have our wonderful music person, Catherine, who will also be here banging on the keys in a little bit. And we welcome you. It's going to be a different kind of service today than the ones that we usually have. But as we were discussing this morning in our small group before the service, this is a different time than it used to be. This is today, and we're going to welcome today. And I think welcoming it with joy is a good thing to do. And now, if you would, please join me in saying our covenant. And there it is, the sun. If you want to stand up, stand up. Want to put your hands in the air, put your hands in the air. Because love is the doctrine of the church. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. And then Catherine says, we can sing, so let's sing. From all who that dwell below the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let words give with one earth be sung, through every land, by every tongue. They taught us how welcome song, la speranza fe amor, en la ocasión, y todo virat caragos. You may be seated. I welcome you to share worship with us today.
We are doing a little tag teaming. I'm going to pour a libation on behalf of our group as part of our celebration. And in the program that was created as Kwanzaa, which I'll tell you more about, it tries to bring in, I should say tries, it does bring in customs that are done in Africa. I've had the opportunity to journey to Africa many times. And one of the things that is done are libations. And they're done by the indigenous people here. I think libations are common to indigenous in all lands because they're honoring the earth and the mountains and the ocean. So for this program, we celebrate Kwanzaa by honoring the ancestors, by honoring those who are here today, by honoring our nature. Give a little drum with that. So we have drum going. So we're going to first honor the ancestors. And the libation, we drink a little, and then we spread it around. I'm not going to do that today. I don't want to slip in the water that I like. Then we honor the families. Your families, as we celebrate and honor the families. Next, we honor the children. Celebrate the children. And now we honor the elders, without whom we wouldn't be here. So it's not just the ancestors who have already come and gone, but the elders who are here to express wisdom and knowledge. And I'd say in today's world, our elders are sorely needed to speak and share their wisdom. A lifetime of knowledge, a lifetime of experience. Let us celebrate the mountains. We are surrounded by mountains everywhere here. It doesn't matter where you look, there are mountains, north, east, south, and west. We honor the mountains, and we honor the land. All that is grown on the land, the dirt below, we honor the sky above, and we honor everything that is living. Let us say, Ashe, 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 Ashe. The part of Kwanzaa, do you notice that? Do you see color? Mm-hmm. Well, the colors represent all the different things, and Brooks is going to say more about it. But I wanted to share the fact that it's a colorful service. So you all have got to bring a little color into this. So I hear you going, yeah, okay, I'll do libation. But bring the child in you to this service. Pretend that you have a 3 or 4-year-old grandchild or niece or nephew that you're explaining the service to. Won't that change something that you do? It changes your imagery, because as soon as the child is involved, you have to meet the child where they are. So you're going to see the child in me today, because it's a celebration just like Christmas. I don't know how you celebrate Christmas. As we get older, we don't have the same level of joy all the time. But if you remember Christmases of past, there's something about the tree that lights up our souls. And Kwanzaa is here to do the same thing. So I will turn this over now to Brooks. We've done our libation. So whenever you hear this, you're going to smile underneath the mask.
So what is this Kwanzaa thing that we're talking about? What is this celebration all about? Where did it come from? And why are we doing this again? Dr. Bolana Karenga, professor and chairman of Black Studies at Cal State Long Beach, created Kwanzaa in 1966 in response to the Watts riots, searching for ways to bring African Americans together as a community. Karenga combined aspects of several different first fruit or harvest celebrations such as those of the Ashanti and those of the Zulu, to form the basis for a week-long holiday. The name Kwanzaa is derived from the phrase Matunda ya Kwanza, which means first fruits in Swahili. Each family celebrates in its own way, including songs, dances, drumming, storytelling, poetry reading, and a large traditional meal. On each night, the family gathers and a child lights a candle on the kinara, the candle holder. Then one of the 7 principles is discussed. The principles, called Ngula Saba, are values of African culture which contribute to building and reinforcing community. A feast called a Karumu is held on December the 31st. Welcome to Celebration of Kwanzaa.
Umoja,
Good morning. I'm going to invite you to rise and embody your spirit, and we're going to meditate while breathing, which is always a good idea. And considering the spacing and the number of people today, I'm going to invite you to sing while masked. So please rise and embody your spirit. And first we just begin, breathe, just breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Thank you.
Fire's up. These are the principles of truth. Oops. The first truth is, if you poke the candle, it will go out. All right. Umoja, unity. To strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race.
We light the candle of unity.
Quiji chagulia, self-determination.
Now you all have to say it.
Oh. Okay. To define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves.
Fuji Kaudalia, we light the candle.
Ujima, collective work and responsibility to build and maintain our community together and make our brothers and sisters' problems our problems and to solve them together.
We light the candle of Ujima.
Ujama, cooperative economics to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses, and to profit from them together.
We light the candle of Ujama.
Nia, purpose. To make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness.
We light the candle of Nia.
Kuumba, creativity. To do always as much as we can in the way we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited it.
We light the candle of Kuumba, creativity.
Imani, faith, to believe with all our heart in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle.
We light the candle of faith.
Walk together, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, children, don't you get weary. There's a great coming in the promised land. Walk together, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, children, don't you get weary. There's a great coming in the promised land. Talk together, children, don't you get weary. Talk together, children, don't you get weary. Talk together, children, don't you get weary. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Sing and never tire. Sing and never tire. Sing and never tire. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Sing together, children, don't you get weary. Sing together, children, don't you get weary. Sing together, children, don't you get weary. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Shout together, children, don't you get weary. Shout together, children, don't you get weary. Shout together, children, don't you get weary. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Sing and never tire. Sing and never tire. Sing and never tire. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Together, children, don't you get weary. Together, children, don't you get weary. Sing together, children, don't you get weary. Shout together, children, don't you get weary. Children, there's a great camp meeting. Sing and never tire. There's a great land. Walk together, children, there's a great camp meeting. Sing and never tire. There's a great land. Walk together, keep on walking. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Keep on walking together, children, keep on walking. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Keep on singing. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Keep on shouting. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Keep on walking. There's a great meeting in the promised land. Keep on walking. There's a great meeting in the promised land. Keep on singing. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Keep on shouting. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Keep on walk together, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, children, don't you get weary. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Sing and never tire. Sing and never tire. Sing and never tire. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Walk together, children, don't you get weary. Talk together, children, don't you get weary. Sing together, children, don't you get weary. Shout together, children, don't you get weary. Walk.
These are the symbols of Kwanzaa that serve as instructive and inspirational objects that represent and reinforce the principles and practices. Unkaya, a straw mat on which all the other items are placed. It is a traditional item and symbolizes tradition as the foundation on which all else rests. Kinara, a candle holder which holds 7 candles and represents the original stalk from which we all sprang. Mishuma, the 7 candles represent the 7 principles on which our society of the firstborn was established. Muhindi, the ear of corn represents the offspring or product, the children of the stalk. It signifies the ability or potential of the offspring to become stalks and to produce their offspring, a process which goes on indefinitely, ensuring the evolution of the people. Kikombe cha Umoja, the Unity Cup. Symbolizes the first principles of Kwanzaa. It is used to pour the libation for our ancestors. Each member of the family drinks from it in a gesture of honor, praise, collective work, and commitment to expand the vision set by our ancestors. Sawadi, the gifts, the fruits of the labor of the parents and the rewards of the seeds sown by the children. Karamu is a feast symbolizing the high festive celebration that brings the community together to exchange and to give thanks to the Creator for their accomplishments during the year. It is often held on the night of December 31st and includes food, drink, music, dance, conversation, laughter, and ceremony. Sounds like a good party to me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here today. I really do. I have spoken at Kwanzaa programs for many years now. It's been celebrated for over 55 years now. And I haven't been celebrating that long, but I want to let you know that I initially, and many people of color, didn't know about, Kwanzaa wasn't there when we were born, so it was new to us too. And it took a while before people warmed up to it. I grew up on the East Coast in New York City, and Kwanzaa was created by Dr. Karama in Los Angeles. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen that map that shows New York and then the rest of the country. So basically, if it came out of California, it was a little shaky to begin with. So that was one of the reasons, but also it was new. And when anything is new, we don't necessarily embrace it immediately. Would you agree? Yeah. So Kwanzaa was new to me many years ago. And it took quite a few years for us to, as a culture, embrace it. But it's embraced now by millions of people around the world. And the other thing I want to applaud you for, that this doesn't come from a culture that you may have grown out of. Because I grew up in New York City in a kind of Jewish neighborhood, back going to a Baptist church, it wasn't a culture I grew out of. So I had to learn and understand what all these symbols mean, why you would have all of these things. And as I listened, I realized that it represented not just Africa, but every culture. Because every culture is included in what we talk about. Thank you so much, Brooks, for what you've shared and all of the principles as well as all of the symbols. Now, is there anyone that doesn't recognize the beauty of the fresh fruits? It's what we're inviting people to go back to eating from a more natural space. The candles we spoke about represent different principles, and I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about that this morning. So I wanted to do that prelogue so that you knew from me that I'm not speaking to you as those who don't know from somebody who thinks they know. I'm speaking to you from somebody who didn't know and also had to learn. And those who are watching from different parts of the country, I say that to you also. Thank you for being willing to participate in Kwanzaa, because most people don't know how to say it. They don't know quite what it is or what to do. But what I want to share this morning is not only what all these symbols mean at a little bit deeper level, but how they apply to you and this community. They were intentionally designed to reflect an Afrocentric perspective. Because when this was done, Christmas, as Christmas still is, has a representation of a fat, jolly Nordic person. And that wasn't quite reflective of coming out of the civil rights movement and other things where we're saying, stand up and be proud of who you are. And then when Christmas comes around, and in fact, it's from the children's perspective. Children grow up thinking that this big white guy is bringing them gifts that they have prayed for. Think about that psychologically. And that's what happened. It came from that deeper place of how do we align what we're saying we believe in? How do we align who we say we are as proud people that come from a land of plenty, that come from a land that everything exists? When you look at Africa today, it's often seen, and actually over the last 40 or 50 years, whenever you see images of African children, they're sometimes very thin, diseased, they have challenges. But I've flown into South Africa, Ghana, Senegal, Ivory Coast, many places, starting with Egypt at the top. That is not who the people are. The people are strong and healthy, and the cities are large and magnificent. Beginning with the pyramids and looking at the places where the tombs are, they're amazing, they're breathtaking, and they're centuries old. So we have to change a whole thinking, a pattern of thinking. Even our parents didn't really want to talk about Africa. When I said I was going to Africa the first time and told my mom, I was so excited, I was going to Senegal. And she said, and I asked her if she wanted to go. I was actually going to pay for her to go. She said, oh, I didn't lose anything in Africa. But it was because the generation of that time didn't connect, wanted to separate, not even talk about their heritage because in this country that was seen as dangerous. It was not acceptable. And as you're thinking about it, I work with people who, well, anybody who's here in New Mexico and Las Cruces near the border knows that we have immigration challenges now. And people are going through those same things, wherever they come from. They may try to separate from where they came from and blend in so that the heritage isn't seen as a separation with the America that they're coming to in the American dream. So I'm giving you that background as really an understanding that these principles were set up to tell the children who they are, to speak words of power into the children. So this is how it is written, and I know that you'll hear it differently. So the first quality and principle is Umoja, which means unity. Say Umoja. And it means to strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. Now, it's actually very similar to, and I'm going to compare these to some of the UUC principles. Your third principle is acceptance of one another and encouragement for growth. That's all that principle is saying. To strive for and maintain unity and togetherness. But when you take it from the standpoint of teaching a child, a young Black or brown child, of who they are, it has a different power. So think of it from the place of a child. Unity of family, community, nation, and race. Not so easy to do when this was first created, and it's not easy to do today. Your congregation and the movement of UUC is all about helping people know who they are and the greatness of who they are that is already built in. So that's what that principle is all about. The second principle is my favorite. I like to say this because it makes my tongue tickle. Kuji Kajalia. Why don't you say that? See, you can't say it and not smile. Kuji Kajalia. It's self-determination. And the way it is written, self-determination is what everybody wants. I want to name who I am. I want to speak about who I am in person. I want to define myself. I want to know that that's who I am. And isn't that what all of you want? Mm-hmm. So there's no separation in what this principle is about. And in the first principle of UUC, what is it? The inherent worth and dignity of every person. It's not taken, the Kwanzaa principles aren't taken out of a desire to be different, but to be who we are. The dignity and worth of each person. The third principle of Ujima. Thank you. You're getting it. To build and maintain community together and make our brothers and sisters' problems our own and to solve them together. Now, isn't that kind of a UUC kind of thing? It's about compassion and empathy. Compassion means to feel with, to be with someone in their discomfort. It's not just to look at somebody and say, I feel sorry for you. Compassion is to take yourself into their space and to be in communion with them. It allows them to heal and you to heal. And in UUC, your third principle is in total alignment with that. Justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Ujima is compassion. It's an expression of compassion and what I call love in action. Again, I'm doing this in this way so you don't feel so distant from this. Are you feeling that? The other principle is Ujama. See, again, you got to kind of dance. This is Ujama. I actually dance a lot. Ujama is to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses, and to profit from them together. This is a very powerful principle, because for so many years, the ability to build their own was denied. I got to visit, my family grew up in North Carolina. And many years ago, my mother took us to the site of my great-great-grandfather, who was a blacksmith. And we actually found the place that he worked in the hills in North Carolina. And in that shop, there was still a horseshoe that I have with me today. So I know in my family, somebody had that sense of their own place. The power of having their own store, a shop, their own business, that gave them power. But most of the family members were farmers. And similar to many people, the farming community has had its ups and downs. And in today's, I'm getting teary-eyed. This wasn't in the script. But when I look at the stories of the farmers in the last year or so, they're suffering. They're suffering from transportation, even if they got the crops, the distribution system's not working for them to get their crops to places. They don't have drivers, they don't have people. Everybody is confined with COVID, so they don't have all the people that work on the farm. They're not getting the monies that they expect to get from their crops. I saw one program where it was just thousands, I think it was corn, I forget which crop it was, but it was just mounds, potatoes. It was mounds of potatoes that they had grown, that they had no place to do anything with. And once you harvest them, they've got to go somewhere. And there were thousands. It was like, the number was unbelievable. It was like 50,000 pounds or 100,000 pounds of potatoes. So my family came from farmland as well as others. So that desire of Ujama to build your own stores has to be instilled in children today so that they know that there's other options in their life. Besides working for someone, it is creating jobs. And it's in alignment with your 8th principle, to affirm and promote journeying forward spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions and accountability. that dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. I love your 8th principle. It's what I spent my life doing. And it's in alignment with this Ujamaa. Nia, that's the easiest one to say. Nia, okay. And I'm sure you even may have met a person named Nia. It's a beautiful name. And the word means to make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. And he was speaking not from a spiritual standpoint, but from an action standpoint. Because I say that as a distinction because we have always been strong spiritually, could not have endured all of the challenges that came without having strong spirit. But the vocation of developing community and building communities of greatness is a powerful one for all communities. I invite all communities to feel this. And this is in alignment with your 6th principle, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. A rewording. The next one is Kuumba. That W, Kuumba. And this is a beautiful one. At the choir I sang in, we actually have a song, a Kwanzaa song. So we sing the principles. And this one is wonderful. To do always as much as we can in the way we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited it. Now, he wrote this 50-something years ago. I think this is an environmentalist statement. To leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than what we inherited. It's a statement and a quest to not destroy, but to build, to create beauty and not anything but beauty around us. And your 7th principle, respect, I hear from the background, yes. Are we together? Yes. Respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. I love that principle. The interdependent web, that's what this is, the community. Let us see ourselves as part of a greater community, that we all operate together, work together. That's the only way we can create it in a more beneficial way. You can't just have beauty for yourself. And in places around this country, this is a quality that we should take forth and speak about all the time. So Kuumba, when you take these words and embrace them, they have a place in your heart. Do as much as we can to leave the world more beautiful and beneficial. The last one is Imani, faith. Imani, faith. To believe with all our heart in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. From a perspective of people that have been challenged, not always able to go to school, being bused, having places that turned us away. This was an important principle. Believe in our people. Believing in our parents was a powerful thing for him to put in, because often when there are young people creating new policy, they're all about themselves. It hasn't changed generation to generation to generation. When I came home from college during summer months and holidays, I was there during the civil rights time. And the elders were appreciated at that time, but it was really more about, what are we doing for us? I know some of you are in that grouping also. And it was about the greatness of what we can do for this country, but we were looking at it from the perspective of our youthfulness. The civil rights, I've been on buses and been with people who have taken buses and gone to Mississippi and Alabama and other places, and they were so powerful. They came from California, Ohio, all over the place. But it was usually young people who went, who could endure the trip, who could take off. Our parents couldn't take off, or we wouldn't have a place to come back to. But it was young people that went out and did the work of the civil rights movement. And I love what they did. And I was a part of it. But it was so important that we honor the parents, our teachers, and our leaders. And I apply this, actually, principle 4 and 5. The fourth principle is a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. And I use that because it talked about the righteousness of the struggle. If you aren't centered in your search for truth and meaning, then you can't connect with what is righteous to do. Is that making sense for you? Mm-hmm. And then the last, fifth principle, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations. That's where the struggle, the victory is struggle. But in UUC, you accept the challenge and your willingness to be part of the struggle. This is a social justice community. So I know that that word struggle is not uncomfortable. There's some places that I speak in some of the New Thought communities that I came up in the last 30 years or so, that because the focus is on love and beauty and kindness, struggle and victory don't come in. It's like, let us own. But that isn't all you have to do. You have to put your whole self in, like when you were playing. Put your whole self in, put your whole self out. If you are, it takes all of it. It takes prayer, it takes peace, it takes music and humming, but it also takes a fight. It takes that place that you can have that sense of victory of the struggle, because you're putting yourself in to doing the work. So I appreciate your willingness to hear Kwanzaa. And I hope you heard it in a different way today, that you can not only hear it, but not be in fear of it. That's the concern that I have sometimes when I speak to different cultures. When we're learning something new, it's hard to know if we can do it and not offend anyone. If we can catch it and understand it in our own way. So my intent here today was really to invite you in to honor a celebration of Kwanzaa, which is being celebrated by the Black community around the world, but it's celebrated by all people. It started out as program for African Americans, but it has since been expanded because at some point you all came out of Africa. Thank you. I thought I could sit down, yes. We changed the program slightly because we didn't have all the participants. So there are parts that I have now that I didn't have 4 days ago. So we're going to just take a few moments. We've done time for meditation earlier, but this is a visioning. And the difference is you go into a meditative state and then you ask a question of whoever you speak to when you're in the quiet. What is your inner self telling you? So as you turn within, let us close our eyes. And knowing what we know right now, which is different than what we may have known an hour ago. Let us be open to the principles of faith, unity, cooperation, good work. And as we turn within, let us create a place of a vision. What do you see as we go forth into the new year? What is important to you to be a part of, to bring into this world? How can you participate? And what are you being called to do? What should these principles have touched you today? And what is your heart saying? That I need to go work with children. Should I work with some of the elders and help us have a conversation about our wisdom that we can take to another generation? Do you know how to teach reading or dance or poetry? Is there this place of creativity that you want to indulge yourself in? What vision came to you as we had our service? Something has sparked a light. Has touched your heart and your being. And it is from that place that we give thanks. That there's a connection of our mind, our body, and our inner presence. And that coming together helps us know what our next steps are. We're guided. In doing what our calling is, because we each have a unique path. We're each unique and amazing. And what is ours to give, we allow it to come through us and as us today. And so it is. Ashe.
having heard all this, I'm reminded of another group that I go to where they say, what an order. I can't go through with it. But then it says, don't be discouraged. So let's within ourselves make a declaration today to do what we can do to allow these principles to grow in our lives and to manifest into our community. One of the reasons that I'm in this congregation is because 5 years ago, I saw that when I came here. And I said, I want to be a part of that, the way that they do that. I want to know how they do that. And so my vow today is to do the best that I can, ask for the help that I need, and to offer the help that I can give with an open heart and open hands. And the congregation says, Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. And now that we've made our declaration, guess what? It's time to give our money. Money, 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 money. Because, you know, it's about spirit, but it's also about air conditioning and sound system and fabulous staff. So give as you can. I know that they are talking about if you have made a pledge, please give your pledge. And if not, please give your money. Give your change for change for change. Don't know. Just for the Seroptimus Club. So here they come. Get out your money.
ילדים בחופשה ישחקו תופסת בין הבית לבין השדות. עוד תראה כמה טוב יהיה בשנה הבאה. עוד תראה כמה טוב יהיה בשנה הבאה.
Soon the day will arrive when we will be together and no longer will we live in fear. And the children will smile without wondering whether on that day thunder clouds will appear. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Some have dreams, some have died to make a bright tomorrow, and their vision remains in our hearts. Now the torch must be passed with new hope and not in sorrow, and the promise to make a new start. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care.
I invite you to rise in body or spirit to sing our Kwanzaa song that is in our hymnal. It's number 147, but the words will be on the screen. When all the peoples of this earth, please rise in body or spirit.
Well, thank you so much for the music, for the videos, for the wonderful co-hosting. This is for your presence. And I could feel your being with us as we go into this closing prayer. So let us turn within and recognize that who we are is a shining example of what we believe. And whether we express ourselves through music, song, dance, writing, teaching, or just being a beneficial presence, it is that which is being called through us and as us that we give thanks for today. For we each have a unique light. Our light is here to shine brightly, to shine so others can see us and follow our path. And there's someone in front of us whose light we may be following. So I invite you all to remember the lights of Kwanzaa and to have that deep place of faith or purpose or creativity in your heart as you go forth. And we give thanks for your being, your presence, your energy, and your intention. And so it is. Amen and Ashe. Would you like to put the candles out as we end the service? And as we're putting the candles out, I want to just stand beside this moment. I often do this as an interfaith ceremony because the candles of Kwanzaa are very similar to the Advent candles, which are very similar to the Hanukkah. Yes, so you often have Hanukkah candles, and they all interact together. And the principles are the same. So just keep that in mind as we are honoring this. We're not forgetting anything else. Peace and blessings. Go forth and multiply. This feeling, this sense, you can come up and look at the table. And we didn't share this earlier, but this is a family tree from Africa. And they make them, and they make them in all different ways, but it's a beautiful carving, and we each stand on each other, moving forward. Thank you for inviting me again. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Reverend Sue always said, this ends our service, but it does now we begin our service.
Yes.
And we had a very special guest here today that we didn't have an opportunity to have introduced. Pablo DeJesus from the Unitarian Universalist for Social Justice is with us today. It's based in Washington, D.C. And Kalani had said that he would have time to say a few words. I know he has planned what to say, so let's give him an opportunity to say something.
Oh, well, thank you. I always love joining services with your congregation. My wife's family's from El Paso, and whenever we come out here, we join you for services. So this is one of the UU congregations that I feel I know and I've seen grow and change over time and flourish and wax and wane, and the whole thing that happens with human institutions. And I was deeply moved by the service today. I grew up celebrating Kwanzaa, as well as Hanukkah, as well as Christmas, as well as the Epiphany, and a whole bunch of other things going in between. As a Puerto Rican from New York, there's always a reason to celebrate. And as a New Yorker, there's always a Jewish community or a African-American community, and we all live on the same block or in the same building, and we share together. So I was deeply moved by this service. I've been thinking this season quite a bit about the challenges that we as a community of faith, a community that puts our values into action, what the next year means for us. Many of us thought that this year was going to be about healing after a very hard election year. And we've discovered that the hard year continued, and we haven't quite got to the healing portion of what we were expecting. And in many ways, that's because, at least in my opinion, we're struggling with an urgent moment in our democracy. And that season of challenge is prolonged. And I just beg you to pay close attention to the conversation that's going on nationally around the health of our democracy. Because as an organization, UUSJ, that focuses on social justice, but also tries to sharpen our denominational presence on social justice issues in Washington, D.C., I can tell you the democracy issue is stymieing every single justice issue that we care about. So whether it's immigration or environmental sustainability and responsibility, or widening our circle of concern economically as a country and really striving to rebalance our economy in a way that makes it people-centered, all of those issues are suffering because we're having such a deep divergence on what our democracy should look like and how inclusive it should be. So if there's one thing that I encourage you to pay attention to, it's that. And please connect with UUSJ and know that UUs are really on the front lines. I don't know if it permeated, but just last week I was with Reverend Barber, as was Susan Frederick Gray. She came down to Washington, D.C. to join me and to join others with Reverend Barber to call attention to the urgent situation. And we were about think when everything was said and done, we were about a good 20% of the people who were there, who were committed. And we are one of the smallest denominations in the United States. So we do witness, we do the advocacy, and I want you guys to feel proud of that. I want you to know that it's going on, and I want you to be willing to evangelize a little bit on behalf of our wonderful approach to the sacred, putting our actions into, our values into action. So thank you. I'll just leave it there.